You will never get rich if you do these things. Have you ever wondered why some people seem stuck financially, no matter how hard they work or how much they earn? It's a question worth asking, because the answer might surprise you, and it could completely change your financial future. Here's a shocking statistic. Nearly 70% of Americans earning six-figure incomes still live paycheck to paycheck. That's right. People making well over $100,000 annually are just as financially vulnerable as those earning far less. Why? Because income alone doesn't create wealth. Behavior does. The truth is, many of the financial habits we consider normal, even responsible, are actually silent wealth killers. These aren't dramatic mistakes like gambling away your savings or making wild investments. They're everyday patterns so common that most people never question them, yet they virtually guarantee you'll never achieve true financial freedom. In today's video, I'll reveal 7 destructive financial habits that keep millions of Americans trapped in a cycle of working and spending rather than building lasting wealth. Each of these behaviors seems harmless on the surface, but together they form an almost unbreakable barrier between you and financial independence. Stay until the end for the most dangerous wealth-destroying habit of all, one that financial experts immediately recognize in their clients, but most Americans don't even realize they're doing. What financial habits are you trying to change this year? Type "breaking free" in the comments if you're working to improve your relationship with money. Let me share with you the first major obstacle that stands between you and real wealth, a trap so common that most Americans don't even recognize as a problem: using credit cards as your money. You know that feeling when you swipe your card for a purchase you can't quite afford, telling yourself you'll figure out later? That moment of temporary relief is actually the sound of your financial future being quietly dismantled. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Credit card debt is perhaps the most powerful wealth destroyer in America today. With average interest rates exceeding 20%, that convenient plastic in your wallet create a form of reverse compound growth that makes building wealth nearly impossible. A $5,000 balance with minimum payments can take over 15 years to pay off, costing more than $6,000 in interest alone. Money that could have been growing in investments rather than disappearing into bank profits. Consider Michael's story. A marketing executive earning $85,000 annually. He used credit cards to maintain the lifestyle he felt he deserved. Nice restaurants, weekend getaways, the latest electronics. What started as occasionally carrying a balance grew into $27,000 across 5 cards. The minimum payments alone consumed $720 monthly, almost $8,700 annually. That could have been building his retirement or funding a small business. While his friends with similar incomes were accumulating assets, Michael was steadily transferring his wealth to credit card companies. The solution isn't necessarily avoiding credit cards entirely. They can offer valuable benefits when used correctly. The key is a fundamental mindset shift. Credit cards are payment tools, not extensions of your income. Use them only for planned purchases you could pay for with cash. Pay the full balance monthly without exception, and select cards with rewards that match your spending patterns. Some disciplined users even make payments weekly rather than monthly to ensure they never spend beyond their means. Remember, the wealthy don't use credit differently because they have more money. They have more money precisely because they use credit differently. Your relationship with those plastic cards might be the single biggest factor determining whether you'll build wealth or remain financially stagnant. This brings us to the second wealth-destroying habit, one that might feel normal because our entire culture encourages it: spending to impress others. We've all felt that urge to showcase a little success. The slightly fancier car than you need, the designer handbag that stretches your budget, the vacation that looks great on social media but leaves your credit card smoldering. This keeping up with the Joneses syndrome has evolved into something even more dangerous in our digital age. The harsh reality is that impression-driven spending creates the appearance of wealth while preventing actual wealth creation. Studies from Thomas Stanley, author of The Millionaire Next Door, reveal that most genuinely wealthy Americans live well below their means, driving modest cars and living in homes that represent a much smaller percentage of their net worth than middle-class families. Meanwhile, those who appear rich often have little or no investment assets, a phenomenon financial advisors call big hat, no cattle. Take Jennifer and Robert. who purchased a $750,000 home in an upscale neighborhood with a minimal down payment. The mortgage, property taxes, and maintenance consumed over 50% of their income, leaving little for investments. Meanwhile, their neighbor Thomas lived in a $350,000 home despite earning more than Jennifer and Robert combined. The difference? Thomas invested the money others spent on impressing people, accumulating over $2.1 million in investment assets by age 55. Genuine wealth that generated passive income rather than consuming it. The smarter approach begins with a simple question before major purchases. Am I buying this for its value to me or for how others will perceive it? Be particularly cautious with visible status symbols like vehicles, homes, watches, and clothing, categories where marketing specifically targets your desire for status rather than actual utility. Consider experimenting with a 30-day list for non-essential purchases over $200. Write them down and wait 30 days before buying. You'll be surprised how many must-haves lose their appeal when the initial emotion response fades. This focus on appearances connects directly to our third wealth-destroying habit, one that's particularly dangerous because it's invisible, not investing in financial knowledge. Let me ask you something. How much time have you spent learning about money management this past year? If you're like most Americans, the answer is probably little to none. We'll spend countless hours researching a vacation or a new television, yet invest almost no time understanding the very thing that determines our long-term freedom, how money works. The uncomfortable truth is that financial literacy is extraordinarily expensive. A study from a National Financial Educators Council estimated that lacking financial knowledge costs the average American over $1,300 annually in unnecessary fees, interest, and poor decisions. Stretched over a lifetime, this ignorance tax exceeds $100,000, and that doesn't include the opportunity cost of misinvestments or compound growth. Consider David, a successful physician earning over $250,000 annually. Despite his professional expertise, he delegated all financial decisions to an advisor charging 1.5% annually plus commissions on investment products. After 15 years, David discovered these excessive fees had reduced his retirement accounts by approximately $380,000 compared to lower-cost alternatives. His high income masked the problem for years, but the damage to his wealth was substantial. The solution is treating financial education as an investment, not an expense. Start with fundamentals through accessible resources like The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins or I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. Consider dedicating just 1 hour weekly to financial learning, perhaps during commutes via podcasts like Afford Anything or Choose FI. The goal isn't to become a financial expert, but to develop enough knowledge to make informed decisions and recognize poor advice. What are you currently learning to improve your financial knowledge? Type financial education in the comments if you're committed to upgrading your understanding of money this year. Now let's examine our fourth wealth-destroying habit, one that costs Americans billions in lost opportunity every year. Postponing when you start investing. I'll start investing when I get that raise. I'll focus on my retirement after the kids finish college. I need to learn more about the market before I begin. These statements sound reasonable, but they're actually among the most expensive sentences in the English language. The undeniable mathematical reality is that time is the most powerful factor in building wealth, more important than the amount invested or even the return rate. Thanks to compound growth, the difference between starting at 30 versus 40 isn't just 10 years of contributions. It can be hundreds of thousands of dollars in final results. Einstein wasn't exaggerating when he supposedly called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. Let me share a simple example that has shocked many of my clients. If you invest $500 monthly from age 25 to 35, just 10 years, then stop completely. You'll have more money at 65 than someone who starts at 35, but invests the same $500 monthly for 30 straight years, assuming equal returns. The early investor contributes $60,000 total, while the late starter contributes $180,000, triple the amount, yet ends up with less. That's the almost magical power of starting early. Consider Susan and Robert, twins who took different approaches. Susan began investing $300 monthly at 25, while Robert waited until 40. when he could invest $800 monthly, despite Robert contributing significantly more in total. $240,000 versus Susan's $180,000. Susan's account value at 65 exceeded Robert's by over $400,000, simply because her money had more time to grow. The solution is refreshingly simple. Start now with whatever amount you can, even if it seems insignificant. $50 or $100 monthly in a low-cost index fund is infinitely better than waiting until you can invest enough. Automate the process to remove the temptation to delay. And remember that the perfect investment strategy you implement is better than the ideal one you perpetually postpone. This reluctance to begin investing often connects with our fifth wealth destroyer, a vulnerability that keeps even high earners from achieving true financial independence, relying on a single income source. Let me ask you a question. If your main income disappeared tomorrow, how long could you maintain your lifestyle? For most Americans, the answer is uncomfortably brief. In today's rapidly changing economy, depending on a single paycheck, even a substantial one, is increasingly risky. Here's a statistic that might surprise you. According to research by Tom Corley, author of Rich Habits, 65% of self-made millionaires had at least 3 streams of income, with many having 7 or more. This diversification isn't just about making more money. It's about creating financial stability and accelerating wealth building through multiple growth channels. Take James, a corporate attorney earning $180,000 annually. Despite his impressive salary, he remained vulnerable to industry downturns and had limited wealth growth potential beyond his salary increases. After seeing colleagues laid off during a recession, he started developing additional income streams. First a rental property, then an online legal course, and eventually dividend-paying investments. 5 years later, these additional sources generated $4,300 monthly. Not enough to replace a salary, but sufficient to provide significant security and accelerate his path to financial independence. The practical approach doesn't mean quitting your job to start a business. Instead, begin building secondary income sources gradually. Consider your existing skills, resources, and interests. Could you consult in your professional field? Monetize a hobby through teaching or creating content. Purchase a rental property with a property manager handling day-to-day operations? Or perhaps focus on building passive income through dividend-paying stocks or REITs, real estate investment trusts. Start small. Reinvest the income to grow each stream and watch as your financial resilience and wealth-building capacity expand simultaneously. Remember, additional income sources aren't just about making more money. They're about creating options and security that a single income can never provide. How many income streams do you currently have? Type multiple streams in the comments if you're working on diversifying your income sources. Our 6th wealth-destroying habit seems innocent, but silently undermines even the best financial intentions. Not automating your finances. Tell me this sounds familiar. You fully intend to save and invest each month, but somehow there's never quite enough left over after expenses. You promise yourself you'll do better next month, but the same pattern repeats. This isn't a character flaw. It's a system failure that affects millions of Americans. The sobering truth is that relying on willpower and good intentions for financial decisions is a losing strategy. Behavioral economists have consistently found that humans are wired for present gratification over future benefit, making consistent saving and investing psychologically difficult, regardless of income level. Without automation, most people spend first and save what's left, usually nothing, rather than saving first and spending what's left. Consider Maria, an executive earning $135,000 annually who repeatedly set savings goals but consistently fell short. Despite her best intentions, there was always a reason to delay, an unexpected expense, a sale too good to pass up, or simply the ease of postponement. After years of minimal progress, she implemented an automatic system that transferred money to investment accounts a day after her paycheck arrived. Within 18 months, her net worth increased by $48,000, more than the previous 5 years combined, without feeling significantly more constrained in her spending. The solution is creating a financial system that works without your ongoing input. Start by automating retirement contributions through employer plans like 401k, ideally at 15% or more of your income. Then set up automatic transfers to other investment accounts, emergency funds, and specific saving goals. Schedule for the day after you receive income. This pay yourself first approach ensures your most important financial priorities happen automatically, leaving you to spend what remains without guilt or complex budgeting. Remember, the most successful investors aren't necessarily the most disciplined. They're the ones who build systems that don't require constant discipline. By removing human emotion and inconsistency from the equation, automation transforms good intentions into actual results. This strategic approach to money management connects directly to our final wealth-destroying habit, one that seems prudent but can be surprisingly damaging over time. Avoiding calculated investment risk. I just want to keep my money safe. I can't afford to lose anything. I'll invest more aggressively once I have more saved. These statements reflect a fundamental misunderstanding about wealth building that keeps countless Americans from achieving financial freedom. The counterintuitive reality is that being too conservative with your investments creates its own significant risk, the risk of insufficient growth. With bank savings accounts yielding less than 1% for decades while inflation averages 2 to 3% annually, safe money consistently loses purchasing power. This invisible erosion means your $100,000 in a savings account today might only buy $75,000 worth of goods and services after 10 years of inflation, a 25% loss in real terms despite the account balance never declining. Take Richard's cautionary experience. Traumatized by market losses during the 2008 financial crisis, he moved his entire retirement portfolio to safe investments, certificates of deposit, money market accounts, and cash. Over the next decade, while market indexes more than tripled in value, his ultra-conservative approach yielded average annual returns below 2%. By avoiding market volatility, he effectively guaranteed inadequate growth for retirement needs, creating a different but equally serious financial problem. The smarter approach is understanding that different types of risk must be balanced, not eliminated. Seek to match your investment strategy with your specific time horizon. Money needed within 2 to 3 years should indeed be conservatively invested, but funds for longer-term goals, especially retirement, generally benefit from greater exposure to growth-oriented investments like quality stock index funds. Rather than avoiding risk entirely, manage it through proper diversification, regular rebalancing, and maintaining an appropriate emergency fund, so you're never forced to sell investments at inopportune times. Do you find yourself being overly cautious with your money? Type calculated risk in the comments if you're learning to invest more strategically for your long-term goals. The 7 habits we discussed: using credit cards as your money, spending to impress others, neglecting financial education, postponing investing, relying on a single income source, failing to automate finances, and avoiding calculated risk, form a powerful web that can trap even high-income earners in perpetual financial mediocrity. But recognizing these patterns is the first step toward breaking free. We've now uncovered the 7 wealth-destroying habits that silently keep millions of Americans from financial freedom: using credit cards as money, spending to impress others, neglecting financial education, postponing investing, relying on a single income stream, failing to automate finances, and avoiding calculated investment risk. The good news? These habits can be changed starting today. Wealth isn't about luck or even extraordinary income. It's about consistent behaviors that allow your money to work for you rather than against you. This week, I challenge you to honestly evaluate which of these habits might be holding you back, then commit to changing just one. Perhaps it's finally paying off credit card balances in full each month, setting up automatic transfers to an investment account, or dedicating just 1 hour weekly to financial education. Small changes, applied consistently, create dramatic results over time. Leave a comment saying wealth building if you recognize one of these habits in your own life and are ready to make a change. Your comment might inspire others who are on the same journey. In our next video, I'll share the positive financial habits that can replace these wealth destroyers, the daily practices that consistently create millionaires regardless of starting income or age. Remember, true wealth isn't about looking rich. It's about having options and freedom. By eliminating these 7 destructive patterns and replacing them with proven wealth-building habits, you're not just changing your bank balance, you're changing your future and creating a legacy that can benefit generations to come.